solve the inequality, give your solution in interval notation, and graph it. Here we have an inequality, and we'd like to try and, similar to an equality, we'd like to try and isolate the x on one side and the numbers on the other side so that we have an understanding of how x relates to those numbers. With an equal sign, we'd be able to say, x equals some particular number. With inequality, we're going to be able to say something like x is less than some number, or x is more than some number. But we still would like to have x's on one side, numbers on the other. To do that, one thing we could do is we could just go ahead and distribute these, and then collect our like terms together and add things to both sides and such. Then we're dealing with fractions, though. We have another option. We can get rid of the fractions first using the same sort of methods we did to get rid of fractions with a rational equation. I could go ahead and look at my denominators, 4 and 8, find the least common denominator, 8. Let me write 8 as 4 times 2 on this side. Multiply both sides by 8. And when I do that multiplication, the 8 cancels, the 4 cancels. I should mention that multiplying both sides by a positive number, by positive 8, does not change the direction of the inequality. The only time that direction of the inequality changes is if we had to multiply or divide by a negative number. But multiplying by a positive number is fine. It doesn't change the direction. So we multiply by this. What do we get? 2 times 7 times x plus 3. 2 times 7 is 14. 14 times x plus 14 times 3, which is 42. That's less than 3 times x minus 3 times 3, 9. Now we can go ahead, put all our x's on the, say, the left. So I'll subtract 3x from both sides. 14x minus 3x is 11x. I'll subtract 42 from both sides. 42 from negative 9 is negative 51. I divide both sides by positive 11. Again, a positive number. So dividing by that positive, oops, that's a 51, not a 15. Dividing by that positive number does not change the direction of the inequality. And here are the x values that represent my answer. Now we just need to go ahead and write that in interval notation and to graph it. All right, why don't we graph it first? So here's a number line. And on this number line, let's indicate the value, negative 5111. I did the 15 again. I think I'm turning dyslexic. Negative 51/11ths. Indicate that point there. And we would like to include all the x values that are less than that. So less than that is these x values over here. Since this is a strict inequality, I just want x values less than that. I don't want to include that value. So I have an open circle at negative 51/11ths. Right. We could also go ahead and write this in interval notation. How do we do that? Well, let's look at the graph. The graph says take all the points all the way down here from negative infinity all the way up to negative 51/11ths. And those are the values we want. We do not want to include negative 51/11ths, so I use a curved bracket instead of a square one. I never get to include positive or negative infinity, so on this side I also get a curved bracket. So here's the interval notation answer. Here's the graphic answer, and we're done.